Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back. So we've got a bit of a show and tell and review. Who wants to see a V8 engine under the hood of a TRX 4? Okay, so like any other RC, there are tons of upgrade parts available when it comes to hobby grade. And if you watched my last video on this, we had a review of the S Dual, which I have right here. So this one we're going to talk about the V8 engine, powered by Ford, believe it or not, is written on this thing. Okay, we know about Fords, guys, but this isn't actually a Ford truck, so we're safe. Won't be found on road dead or found in old recycled Dodge or DeSoto, but basically you've got a 302 or a 351 Ford Engineer or whatever Cygnus you want to call. I call it a 302 because commonly I know about 302s and Fords. This is an engine cooler that has two turbofans that can kick out some very serious RPM. There's two versions of this little unit. One is 2S, the other one is 3S, so be very careful when you order this thing. I would highly recommend the 3S version only, even if you're going to run 2S. Now the motors will run a little bit slower on 2S if you buy the 3S version because they're 3S fans. Okay, so 12 volt fans versus 7.4 volt. Installation on this was quite interesting, considering I've never even seen anybody take a motor out of TRX4. I kind of took my best guess, pulled 3 screws, and everything come out, and it's like, cool. And I had to pull the motor because Traxxas puts like a heatsink canister over top the motor to help reduce heat, right? Well, you have to pull that off because there's no way these fins are going to spread enough to go over that. So you do have to pull that canister off. And the only way to get it off is to pull the motor mount off, then slide it out forward. Okay, you don't have to take off your pinion gear. And while we're at it, if you do buy a brand new TRX4, do pull that out first and check, because whoever assembled this one at the factory had the pinion, only like half of the pinion was sitting in the gear teeth on the spur, right? That is not cool. So I had to realign the pinion so that it would be dead across even. Now it is fixed gearing, so you don't have to worry about setting the mesh other than getting things in the right place. So mark your holes before you pull the plate. Be very mindful of what you're doing so you get everything in the right direction, so that even when you put the motor in, back in, that your wires are facing the right direction to give you the most amount of wire coming through. I am going to be getting the upgraded motor plate that's in aluminum, as well as the housing as well. Going to get that in aluminum. There's going to be a lot of alloy upgrades on this thing. By the time I'm done, the whole thing should pretty much be metal. But some things I'm not going to do though. But anyway, so the V8 engine here, twin coolers. This I wasn't sure at the time when I unboxed it if it was a sensed version or sensorless version as far as, you know, heat sensor goes. It turns out that there is only one version of this as far as heating goes, and it is a sensor system. So when it senses a certain amount of heat coming off your motor, the fans will kick in. Otherwise they don't, which is good because that really saves you on the battery, especially for having an uncensored version. So I'm thinking when I get my cooler for my ESC, because they do make a really cool ESC cooler. There's two versions of it for sure. Okay, there are actually two versions. One with a heat sensor, so that it'll kick on as needed, which would be good. Or they have the uncensored version, which is running all the time. You don't really want your fan running all the time, right? At least you shouldn't want it running all the time. You should only want it running when it's needed. So I'm going to get the 3S version of that ESC cooler that has the sensor wire with it, because it's an actual sensor wire that I guess plugs into the fin somewhere, and that'll definitely keep the ESC very cool. And of course, like I said, I got the V8 engine here, which will help from having the motor run too hot. And so again, you've got bonuses here, right? It clamps on, it fits nice and secure. It's not going to come off. Like, I'm holding the weight of the truck here, now it'll come off, right? Because I'm shaking the truck up and down. Otherwise, I mean, it ain't coming off. You can remove the valve covers. On a real engine, that's what they'd be called, valve covers. You can remove these valve covers if you need to have more compact space, right? Now, I wanted to hook up like an intake hose line on this, but I can't because it's being blocked by this stuff. So I was kind of, hoping I could do something like that, but it's not going to turn out the way I wanted to. The only way that could turn out, actually, is if I removed my servo and went with the front servo mount system, which I don't really care, I mean, this thing, you don't see this thing anyhow, but the fact is that at least I know that my engine is going to be secure and kept cool. Now this thing is about $50-some, which, at first I thought, but hey, it is a mod part, and it does function, it does do what it's supposed to do. But you can get this in a 2S or 3S version. But like I said, get the 3S version even if you're running a 2S battery in your TRX, because then it'll still cool your motor, okay, but it'll allow you to run a 3S when you want to run 3S, still have this hooked in, and not have to worry about blowing those motors out. So I would just buy the 3S, would be my recommendation. I think it's worth the money too, and it is nice. It does add a little bit of weight to the front end of the machine, which we all know that this thing has a lot of back weight to it, and that's one thing too about the S Dual. I should have mentioned that in the other video, but I'll mention it here. This does add weight to the back end, and I actually had to go about another 1/4 inch down in spring preload to stop my ass end from sagging. So everything stays consistently level now in the rear end, and I left my front end alone, which is good because my front end will be allowed to squat down a little bit, which will move the center of gravity to help keep a little bit more front end, and then the ass end will be just what it is. So anyways, that's just a little tidbit there. I would say definitely on this thing, I would probably put this thing at least a 4.5 out of 5. I don't see a problem with that kind of a star qualifier for this machine, for this cooler. It does fit great. You do have to remove the sleeve. That's something that's a given. It's very easy to do. I was just so shocked at how easy it was to do. When I read up on the TRX4, and one of the first things that really amazed me and got me thinking was, this thing is like you set the gear mesh according to your gearing, and it's like so easy to do. You don't have to do the paper trick anymore, and it's like, yes! Now if Traxxas could do that to all their machines, and they do have the technology and capability, but if they ever did do it to all their machines, that would be a massive seller, because so many people, if they get their mesh too tight or too loose, you're screwing something up, right? You gotta have it just right and, proper. And this system is like balls on. It's great. So I really like that thing about the TRX4s with the gear mesh. But I like how this thing looks. It looks cool. Looks like a, pretty much looks like a real motor for the most part, yeah, it's definitely a good upgrade. It is plugged direct to my ESC, because you've got the power line off the ESC. I'm going to be building a Y adapter, obviously, when I get my ESC cooler, and then they can both run off the same line, so I don't have to go extra wires and stuff, right? It'll just be, a Y adapter and plug and go type of thing. So anyways, yeah, so more mod parts are on the way. I've been checking my tracking numbers, and I might have another one of my upgrade parts in tomorrow, which would be awesome. If not, definitely before the end of the week it should be here, and hopefully my other batteries and other mod parts will be here soon as well. Still waiting on tires, rims, a bunch more stuff. So yeah, so I've been kind of going crazy ordering stuff in the last little while. So I really wanted to get this thing modified quite a bit before the trail season, and getting things on there that I wanted to have on there. And you know, some things are gonna have to wait for a while. Obviously, front and rear bumpers are gonna cost me, you know, probably my right arm or something, but you know, it's gonna be worth the money to have them there, because it's exactly what I want, 4 bumpers for this to go into metal with. I was having a bit of an issue with my antenna here, and I was gonna move it, but then I started to figure some geometries out, and it's gonna be okay to leave it exactly where it is. So that'll be cool. But anyways, that's it. That's all. Let me know what you guys think of this engine cooler. I think this thing is pretty sick ass, and you know, it is functional. It's not just for looks. It actually does its job. So there you go. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Ciao.